Hey, it's Sarah Peterson here. Thanks for listening to this episode of MLM Marketing Explosion. Are you focusing on the things that are going to bring you more money, or are you focusing on things that don't matter?
How are network marketers like us supposed to rank, advance, and build a downline without begging our friends and family or having supermodel good looks? My mind was blown when I realized that the top network marketers aren't calling their friends and families to invite them to lame hotel meetings and in-home meetings. I've spent the last 2 years learning from and dissecting the system that top earners in the industry use. Follow me on the journey as I continue to learn and implement the top marketing tips and strategies to grow my downline. This is Sarah Peterson, and you're listening to MLM Marketing Explosion.
I wasted a ton of time in network marketing. I was doing presentations every single day. I was told that I had to do at least 15 a month. I was doing that. Sometimes I did, 7 presentations in one day. I think my record was 17 in one day. I don't remember, but I worked hard. And when I'd exhausted my list, I actually did cold calls. Now that's kind of ridiculous, right? Nobody was joining. Nobody was signing up like I thought. But it didn't occur to me that maybe the problem was me. So when the big leaders would come into town to help me, I'd complain. So here they are in town, and I'm going, well, if I just lived in a different place. California is just a really hard place to find people that want to be an MLM. Or, hey, if the weather was different, or hey, if this, that, and the other. Okay, wasn't that ridiculous? But I kept thinking, if I lived somewhere different, if I had different friends, if I wasn't a stay-at-home mom, if I was a business professional, if I'd done this before, if I'd been in another company, things would be easier. If I was more affluent in the community, things would be different. If I had more friends, things would be different, whatever. Fill in the blank. I had an excuse as to why this wasn't working. Hey, this works for other people. It doesn't work for me. Every excuse under the book. And I was looking for validation. I was waiting for them to say, oh, you're right. If you lived somewhere different, things would be different, or your company would be growing. You're right. This is just the wrong place, whatever, right? I was focusing on things I can't control. If I go and share this information with a friend, I couldn't control whether that friend signed up or not, right? Now, there are factors I could do. I could control how I followed up. I could control what I followed up with. I could control when I followed up, right? But them physically saying yes or no to my opportunity, I couldn't control that. But I was focused on things I couldn't control. And not only was I focused on them, but I turned all of those things into excuses. And since that's where I was focused, guess how people were reacting to that energy? You guessed it. My message was coming off flat because all I was focused on was things that I couldn't control. I couldn't control them, right? At the end of the day, I cannot control anybody else. I can't always control the situation. But here's some things that I can control. I can control my thoughts. I can control my emotions. I can control my energy level. I can control my attitude. I can control my words, I can control my choices, and I can control what I know. So I'm stuck. I'm going to these people. I'm saying the same things over and over and over again. I'm getting the same results, but it didn't occur to me for way more years than I even want to admit to. It didn't occur to me that maybe if I invested in myself, I would get a different result. It didn't occur to me that I had leads. I had spent years thinking I don't have enough leads. I've run out of names on my list. Now, while that was true in a certain level because I burned through the names on my list, it wouldn't have mattered if I'd had a list of 3 million more names because that wasn't the problem and I didn't recognize it. The problem was me. I had no idea what to say to another person. I had no experience with sales. I didn't own up that I was in sales. I didn't learn how to close somebody. I didn't know how to talk to somebody. I didn't know how to share my story. I didn't know who I should be talking to. I thought everybody was the perfect candidate for my opportunity. So therefore, I talked to everybody and I talked to everybody exactly the same way. Those were things that I could control. I could learn how to do another thing. I could learn how to become a salesperson. I could learn how to build my team more effectively. I could learn how to build my team in less time every single day. Those were all things that I can control. I could control me. but I didn't realize it. So I'd go to these big events, I'd be all excited. Sometimes they were smaller trainings in my area. Some days they were the big, corporate events where I'd go and, I'd drink that Kool-Aid, so to speak, and I'd get all pumped up and I'd be all excited and I'd get back home and those same things would start hitting me again and the same excuses would come back. And even when I wasn't telling them to other leaders, I was feeding them to myself. And after a while, you start to believe it. So there's just not anybody in my area that's interested. Yes, there were. Well, I just don't know where to find people. There's people everywhere, right? But I didn't have the skills that I needed to make this happen. So I started investing in actual marketing. I started investing in how to do sales. I started investing in how to be the best version of myself. I started investing in trainings. I started watching what top earners were doing. I started investing in trainings that I knew they could teach me things I didn't know. I learned how to go online and how to post correctly to get people to come to me. I learned how to build a business differently than what some of the top earners in my company were doing. And they encouraged me to learn it, even though they themselves didn't know how to do online things. And I decided that I was not going to let any excuses in my way. There had to be people out there. I knew there were people looking. There were people joining MLM all day long. But as I was throwing these limiting beliefs into my head, as I was telling myself that they weren't there, that they weren't found, that there was nobody, that, I knew everything that I needed to know, it stopped my progress because I was focusing on all the things that I could not control. As soon as I switched it to, how can I get better at identifying a lead? How can I find that perfect person that's waiting for me? How can I get better at talking to people? How can I close people? What's the best way to do it? How often should I follow up? And, on and on and on, things started to change because I recognized that I needed to change, that it wasn't a matter of being in the wrong spot, that it wasn't a matter of living in the wrong place, that it wasn't a matter of me never being in an MLM company before or being successful with it. It was a matter of me taking ownership and control of my company. Thanks for watching today. Go ahead and like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.
Are you tired of bugging your family and friends and bumping into the same people all over social media trying to pitch your opportunity? If so, grab your team members and go to www.marketingexplosion.org and pick up your free copy of MLM Momentum. It's going to teach you how to get people coming to you and applying for your opportunity. It's also going to teach you how to get paid for prospecting. See you soon.